So what I'm saying is what is being recorded. My screen is being recorded. Okay, so let's quickly look at the PowerPoint slides first. Very quickly, the first two, as I said, just to give you an introduction. And then we'll try to do, if we can, we have time. We'll be able to do a small example today. Okay, so once Visual Studio is installed, this is your IDE, Integrated Development Environment. It's the IDE we'll be using throughout the semester for this course. You can develop 4 different kind of program type C# flavors in it, and I'll kind of tell you what they are. Okay, so once you, as I said, once you have it, you will be okay. And I would just like you to go through these slides before you come to class. So we are at Visual 2015. Update 3 is what you got from DreamSpark, right? So here is an example of what we will be working on. What kind of application we'll be creating, right? So we'll create something that looks like this. These are called window forms, right? If you notice, they open up in a window of their own. You can have multi-forms in a project. So this is a Windows form application for the desktop. So we are creating window form applications for the desktop only. We are not doing web applications, okay? Console applications don't create forms. Console applications, as you know, will show output on console. So if I get time, or if I can do it with some example, I'll do a console application. But that's what our aim is, to create Windows form applications using Visual Studio. Right. So here are the four options that you can, the applications that you can create in .NET. Right. So the first is Windows Forms, and that's what we are learning in this course. So it runs in its own windows on the user's PCs and consists of 1 or more windows. So you can have more than 1 windows. You can have more than 1 forms. It's called a multi-form project. Okay. We'll start with a single form project, and very quickly we'll go on to multi-form projects. I mean, you can never restrict to only 1 form, but we'll learn the basics in 1 form, like restrict ourselves just with 1 form. And once we get the knack of this syntax and the basics, then we can start creating multi-forms. The second kind of applications that you can create in .NET are the web forms, the ASP.NET forms. And it says, as you know, web forms will run on a web server, and it consists of 1 or more web forms that define pages that are displayed in the browser window of the client. So that's not what we are aiming in this course. The third are called ASP.MVC, right? Model View Controller kind of design, as it is called. Again, they are web forms. They run on web servers and consist of pages that are displayed in a browser on the client machine. Unlike the web forms, these use a design pattern called Model View Controller. Have you heard of MVC in your Java courses? No? MVC basically, as the name suggests, Model View Controller. So view is what you can see. Model is your data at the back end, how your data is handled. Is it in files? Is it in databases? Whatever it is. So that's the model. The data storage is the model, and the controller is the middle part, right? So you have view in the front, model at the back, and controller in the middle. Is just a design pattern. So what do you mean by design pattern? You decide which classes go into which level, into which layer. So there are 3 layers. It's called an MVC pattern. It's a design pattern. All your showing business, all your graphics is at the front end view. All your data manipulation, like all your data storage, is at the model level, right? And your controller is what interacts, or what makes the interface interact with the data, is the controller, right? So all your logic is in the controller. So the view, the front end at the first layer, the controller is the logic that interacts or makes interaction between the front end and the back end, and the back end is the data storage, which is called the model. How are you modeling your data? How are you viewing your data? How are you modeling your data, and what is controlling the interaction? This is called MVC, design pattern. Okay, it's just a kind of like, it's just a pattern in the sense of how do you put your classes, how do you group your classes, or how do you group your logic into what layers. And the last is WPF, Windows Forms, presentation forms, and it runs in Windows on the user's PCs and provides an enhanced user experience. So how are they different from Windows Forms? They have more in terms of presentation. They look different, right? They have more, and that's why it says it gives you an enhanced user experience. So I'm hoping that I could do maybe a couple of examples in WPF also. So let me get the knack of things. Let me kind of get you into the course. And then once you have the confidence that I can do it, then maybe we'll do the WPF. So again, I'm not promising anything. the course, the book that I've chosen and how I teach is using Windows Forms, but it never hurts to do it in another way, right? So, and it's not that different, it's just a different way of doing it. So maybe I can do one of the classes, or maybe two, I just do use, instead of using Windows Forms, I just do the WPF. So that's my aim. So right now we are concentrating on Windows Forms. So that's what we'll do today, and that's what we'll do for a few weeks till I kind of get you all settled in and confident about it. So the 2015 edition comes in 3 flavors. You have the community, which is free, which you can download from the MSDN site. The professional and the enterprise are not free. We have access to the enterprise edition on DreamSpark, and that's what you've downloaded. Right? So now you can use it. Each of you will have a license key. Remember, when you download it, an email is sent to you and it has a license key. Please keep that safe, right? You will need it when you install it. Either when you install it, or I think after a month, it asked me after a month, it said, your free trial is finished. What is your license key? And that's when I gave it. So remember to keep that email safe, okay? And the languages that are supported by Visual Studio, there are 4 of them. You have C#, you have Visual Basic, you have the C, all visual, C++, and then you have the F#. Our program, our language of interest in this course is Visual C#. That's what we are working on. Very similar to Visual Basic that we used to do. Okay, so I mean, I'm sure you can handle it. Like, in the sense, if you know C#, I'm sure if I say do it in Visual Basic, with a little tweak can here, you will be able, I mean, things will be a little different. They're 2 different languages, but you know what? Programmers are smart. You know one language, you know the logic. The logic is what is important. You know a language, you can always learn another language very quickly. So our language of interest in this course is Visual C#, and our interest in this course is Windows Forms. Okay. So here is the net framework, right? It's the framework in the sense it tells you this is how it is going to work. You write your net applications, then there is a net framework that is provided to you, which does all your work. So it has the common library, the class library, which you will be using. The common language runtime converts your program into an intermediate language, and then the operating system and hardware that you have at the other end is whatever we are using. Like, I have 8, I think, still on my laptop. Most of you have, I think, 10 now, right? I am still using the college laptop, and the college is still at 7 or 8. No, 7, I think. 7 enterprise, I think. So that's what's in my laptop. I mean, since I use the college laptop, I don't change it. I haven't changed it. Right? It's not on my personal, of course, I have 10. Anyway, so basically, notice you will write a program. You will be using the class library. Your program will be converted into an intermediate language, and then that intermediate language is run on an operating system. Okay, so that's the kind of the picture of the framework that you'll be using. Frameworks are also in different. They also have different versions, and I'll show you when I see it. When we create a project, I'll show you that the versions that are available. It's not here right now. Okay, let's go back. So again, just kind of give it a read. This is just an example. I will necessarily not do this example, but it kind of tells you what's happening. So this is how a program is compiled and run. We'll learn how to do it shorthand. I'll show you how to use Visual Studio today. So you don't have to memorize any of this. So you use the IDE to create a project, right? And this is the picture of the project in C#. You'll have something called a solution. And in the solution, you'll have a project, and the project will have your source files. Then you compile it. The compiled version is changed into an intermediate language, IL it is called, and all class references. This is assembly is created. And then the common language runtime will run your code. Okay, so that's the steps it goes through. So write a program, compile into an IL. Like Java was compiled into a intermediate language too, right? Java also is converted into bytecode, it is called in Java. And then bytecode is run by the Java JVM on different platforms. Same kind of concept here. It is converted into an IL, and then the IL is run, intermediate language. So, I mean, this will quickly go through. So the first slideshow is basically telling you a few things, and hopefully we'll be able to do it today. So that's PPT1, right? Not a big thing. So it's just so that you are introduced to the Visual Studio, and I'll show you how to now work with it. Okay. So, and I'm not sure. Let's look at the second one. Will we need the second one today? Oh, yeah, we will. But let's do it first, and then I can come back to it. I'll show you how to design one. If I can do it today, good. If not, we can always. So here are how you can change your options in the environment. You can set your environment as you want it. right? You can set it however you want it, whatever color scheme you want, whatever help. If you don't want the IntelliSense is a feature in the IDE that if it lets you autocomplete. So if you say something like object name dot, it gives you a list of methods that are available. Just like Eclipse. Did you use Eclipse when you did Java? What was the IDE you used? NetBeans, both courses?
Yeah.
Both courses? Okay. Okay, so again, I use Eclipse more than NetBeans, but I'm sure NetBeans has the same kind of feature that like IntelliSense feature, right? So many students prefer. And do you know there's another one now? Not now, but it's been there for maybe 6 months or so. IntelliJ. IntelliJ is another popular Java environment IDE that is now being used, right? Again, every IDE has its own features, and you have to learn those features as you go on. So I think we should be, yeah, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. So there's not much except there's not much here. So please open up your Visual Studio. If you don't have it installed for today, please ensure that you have installed it for next week at least, okay? So then you can try it on your own, right? So now here is your Visual Studio. If I haven't changed any defaults, I'm usually okay. But again, it depends on what you want to do. The only thing I think I changed was where I want to save my projects, kind of. That's what I did. But again, that is up to you. So go File, go New, and go Project. So go File, New, and Project. Once you do this, notice how on the left hand side you will see some templates, C#, other languages, and so on. Like I am choosing C#, and under Windows, if you click under Windows, you will notice that you have a few options here. The options that we were talking about, the Windows Form applications and the WPF application. And there will be a console application also somewhere here, right? So if I can, I'll show you all these three in some form or the other during the semester. But this is what I'm concentrating on, right? So all my applications that I am building are of type Windows Forms application. Okay, now a few things that you'll have to kind of keep in mind. Always see that you have this checked, which is checked by default. It says create directory for solution. The best part about this is you will have a directory in which all your files will be at the right places. They're all placed where they have to be placed. The compiled version will go into bin, your class files will go into source, and so on. I would recommend that you do this. So at the end of the day, if you have to give me something, this directory that will be created wherever you tell it to create it, all you have to do is right click, zip, and send it to me. So that way you don't have to worry which files doesn't you want, right? So if you have this directory created, I'll show you once I create it. And once you have it created, then all, if I say please submit your assignment or whatever, it's a directory, right click, zip, and send it. That's what is required. So it's better that you do it this way. Now, I would always like you to give a good name to your Windows Form application. So for example, if I am creating my lesson 1 creation today, or week 1, or whatever you would like to call it, it depends on whatever you would like to call it. I'm calling it lesson 1, and I know it's called Hello World. I'm showing you how to write Hello World. Right, so that's the name I'm giving to my solution. These are called SLN files. So I've called it lesson 1 Hello World. Please give it a name that makes sense. I do not want to see a project called Windows Application Form 1. That's the first mark you will lose. Think about yourself. You were given so good names by your parents. Nobody called you ABC. Same way, right? Always give names that make sense. Names to your forms, names to your controls, names to your variables. Every name must make sense. Give them good names, right? Naming something well is your first step in programming. Don't call your variables XYZ. Index variables are still okay. I and J's are still okay if you're using it in a for loop. But don't call your variables XYZ. Don't call your forms form 1, form 2, form 3. Button 1, button 2 makes no sense. Always give names that make sense. Okay. Now, this is where you would like to keep your code. Okay. So for example, so I kind of said this way I could keep it at one place. By default, a Visual Studio 2015 directory is created when you install Visual Studio. You can choose wherever you want. So to kind of keep it here. So for example, this is Wednesday section. So I'll create a new folder for Wednesday. Oops. So that way I know that my work is where I want it. You know what I mean? So I am going to save my projects at a place where I can find them. Please do the same for yourself. Because after that, sometimes, you know what happens, you say, I have no clue where I saved it. And then I don't know where you saved it. There is a default location, actually, we can always find out. But please save your work where you know you can find it. So choose whatever you like, really doesn't matter. It's just a directory. Like it's just a directory, you can save it on the C drive. Don't go into the habits of saving it on the desktop. I wouldn't recommend it. It's up to you. It's your work, right? So create a directory that will make sense to you. I just chose and stuck with the Visual Studio 2015 just because I have 2 sections and I'm doing some personal practice on my own, so that way they're all at one place. I don't have to go searching for those stuff. So whatever works for you, okay? And actually you can make this location default. Every time you won't have to browse. Go to tools and options, and there is a way there where you can say this is my default location. So then it will always give you that default location. Okay, and that's what I did. I made a default location for it. So please see that this is checked. Please ensure that you have a good name, a good, useful, meaningful name. Please put it where you can find it later and say go. So, okay. It will take a second. It's going to create the project for you. You will notice that you have a Solution Explorer window on the right-hand side, right? In the Solution Explorer window, you have a solution called Lesson 1 Hello World 1, right? That's the one that I just created. And inside it, there is a project. There is only one project because we're just doing a single projects right now. And these are expandable and collapsible, right? And it says, oh, you've created a C# project, right? And therefore you see the C# here, icon here, and the project is called Lesson 1 Hello World. The rest of the files right now are not so important, but this form1.cs is this form that you have created here, right? By default, a form gets created here for you. That's the default. Now, I'm sure if you haven't done it, if you haven't Googled or see how it has to be done, you don't have this directory called Power Packs here on your Visual Studio. This is the directory that these are the Power Packs that I told you to install. This is how you do it. If you kind of Googled it a little to the website I had sent you, you would have a clue. If not, that's not a big deal. So do this now. In this your toolbar, do a right click anywhere here and say add a tab, right? In this do you have this toolbox right here? If not, it will be somewhere like this. I pinned it here. It will be here. This is your toolbox. Click on it and then pin it. This is called pinning it. There. That's the toolbox. Right? So this is your toolbox. As the name suggests, the tools you will be using to create your font. Right? Right? So to add that Visual Power Packs, the exe file that I gave you, download that exe file from Blackboard, run it. It's an exe file, run it, and now you can do this. Do a right click here and say add a tab. Add a tab. When you add a tab, you will get something like here. Do you see a tab? Right? And put Power Packs. Like I don't think it matters, but I've just followed instructions. Create a tab called Power Packs. Just call it Power Packs. Okay? Once you have that tab, now select that tab, do a right click and say add items or choose. There is a choose. Okay. Maybe because I already have it, I am not seeing add. Maybe you are seeing add. I remember it was add items. Anyway, so choose items. You will see that a few items will come up in the list. Now, since I knew what I wanted, like I have added a line shape and a print form. The print form is important because you will use it once. The line shape you use to draw a line and so on. So do a right click and say choose items. And in here, under your .NET framework components, let's see if I can filter. Oh, why don't I see the plus and the... I just chose the two. I didn't try all. So let's say choose items. I don't get that. Why am I not getting that? So try to give something like print form. There. I can't see my rights. That's strange. I was able to see them right now, but anyway. So you see a print form here. And I see two of them actually. You should be seeing one because I have one already installed or something. Is it? This is the one. Where, what does it say? What address it is? Just do a right in front of it. Check it. Oh, here, this one. Oh, there is a global assembly cache and there is a C.program files. This is the one I chose. Choose it. Just do a click. There should be a plus in front, a checkbox in front of it. Do it and say OK. So I chose print form and line shape. You could go through the whole list if you wanted. So I'm not sure. Do you see choose items or do you see add items? Maybe it's choose. What do you see if you're doing it for the first time? Choose. It is choose. Okay. So add a tab, call it Power Packs. Right click on it, say choose items, and at least get the print form for today. Right? You can have the line shape, the oval shape, the pointer. There are many that come in a Power Pack. So depending upon what you need, you can keep adding items to it. Okay? So you should see a box and you check it and you choose it. So for today at least, you should have print form available here. What it does, as the name suggests, if you look at its help, if you bring your mouse over it, it says allows you to easily print a Windows form as a single report. So if you wanted to print this form, the form itself, this is where it comes in. This is a tool to print it. If you don't need it, don't use it. Right? I'm just showing it to you. You don't have to, but you should know about these Power Packs. These are called Power Packs, for whatever reason. Okay, so are we ready now with the environment? Is everybody seeing what I'm seeing here? Right? So you have created a solution. You've called it for, if you forget for whatever reason, oops, I forgot, then you can always do a right click here and you can rename it. But there are a few things you have to kind of remember, and maybe in a couple of classes, I'll show you how to remember those things. But if you start right, it should not be a big deal. It should not be a big deal. But these, what you see here, if you go to project here and look at its project's properties, see, this is, so if you change the name there, you did not give it a good name when you started, and you changed the name in the Solution Explorers window, please remember to change it here also. So therefore, I'm saying start right, at least in the beginning. But it's not a tough thing to change it afterwards. Here is the assembly name. So notice how my assembly name is lesson 1 Hello World. Here is the target framework you're working with. You can change this if you like. You can go to 4.6, 4.6, and so on. 4.6.1, whatever you choose. The framework is, remember when we saw these slides, the framework is what the .NET gives you, how it takes your program, compiles it, puts it, the libraries it gives you, and so on. So you can stay with 4.5.2, you can go to 4.6, really. Oh, then I won't do it for now, but it really is not a big deal. So as long as you have what I have, you're okay. It's not a big deal. I can always change the framework in my code if your framework is different. It's not as if I can't do it. But this is where the assembly names are. Right? These are where the assembly names are. So if you forgot to give it a good name when you started and you called it Windows Application Form 1 and you left it, then this is all you will have to do. You will have to come here, you do a right click and rename, but then you will also have to change the properties. You go to project and here it is, the last one, lesson 1 hello properties, and you will have to change it here also. Okay, what is the namespace? Namespace is like your package name in Java. That's what a namespace is. Okay, so when you create packages in Java, in Visual Studio.NET, namespaces are created. So your namespace is called lesson 1 hello world. That's the name of your package also. You will see it, it's in the code. So if you forget there is a way of doing it here too. And it's just a little more work, but it can be done. So just don't think, oh, I can change it here and it will be fine. When you run your program, it will say I can find it because you didn't make the connection. Okay. So if everything is right, this is what you have in your Solutions Explorer window, it is called. Right? There are other windows that we will work with, but for now, that's the Solution Explorer window. On the left-hand side, the data sources is not important to us right now. This is basically when you work with data sources, like a database. Okay, so this is not important for us right now. So we can hide it, but the toolbox is important to us. So I would recommend that you pin, it's called pinning. So you can auto hide it and you can open it again and you can pin it so that it doesn't keep dancing, right? So pin your toolbox because you'll need it all the time to create your form. Okay, what do you see? You see that by default, a Windows form has been created for you. It's a Windows form. It has a maximize button, a minimize button, and a cross button, right? It will close. These three are automatically functioning. The minimize will minimize it, the maximize button will maximize it, and the cross will close your form. The title of the form right now is called form 1. There is an icon here. Do you see? That's the default, which you can change. We'll learn how to change these things. What you see here is an instance of the class called form in the library. Okay, so there is a class called form in the library, the C# library, and you've just created an instance of that form. You've just said new form and you've created it. That's what has done, that has happened behind the scenes. If you double click on this file called program.cs, double click on it, it will open up in your window here, right? This is your, you can relate it to Java like this. This is your main program in your Java file. When you write a tester, when you write an application, remember how you write public static void main and you put your code inside it, and that's the code that is run. That is this file. So the file is by default called program.cs. Notice how it has a namespace. It has a class called program, therefore it is called program.cs, like the Java file is called whatever.java. It has a method called main. The signatures are different. Of course, it's not Java language, but it is a static method. Do you know the use of a static method in Java and also in C#? A static method means you don't have to create an object of this class to run the class. Static methods belong to classes. So how can you run it? Program.main. And when you ask the system to run your program for it, it looks for this file called program.cs. Inside it, it looks for a method called main, and it says program.main run. And it can do that because main is a static method. It doesn't have to create an object. Static methods are shareable, belong to the class, are used with the class name. And that's the same thing in Java. The main method is static in nature so that when you run your application, the JVM in Java and the runtime unit here, the CLI runtime unit, will automatically run your code. And what's inside main? So look at the structure of your program. This is your package statement. Namespace is like your package statement. The name of the program is called program. Okay, that's by default what it is called. And here it says the main entry point for the application. So it creates this for you. It creates this for you. If you were writing a console application yourself, you would create it yourself. It's just a code file. It's just a .cs file. And inside there is a main. What is it saying? It's saying enable my visual styles of the application. So it should be enabled, the visual styles. Set the compatibility default to false. And this is the most important one. Run the form. And notice in the brackets, what is it running? New form. So that form 1, the picture that you just saw, the visual that you just saw, you're running that file. New form, and you're creating the new form and you're running that form. Okay. So this is your main entry point in your code. When you run this code, run it. This is how you can run it. You have it under build. Build solution is only compiling it. Rebuilding is recompiling it. Cleaning is, okay, if I've made mistakes or whatever, I have made a lot of changes, just clean it up. Or if you want, you can run it. You can just kind of run it in one go. So under debug, you will notice that you can start debugging at one go. This is called the run. So if you only want to compile it, you have to compile it using F6. Okay, F6 is the shorthand button. If you want to compile and run it, you can use F5 or this green button or this green button. They're all the same. So F5 for running and F6 for compiling. So when I run this code, automatically the control goes to program.cs into the main method of it, and it executes these 3 lines. So what do you expect? This is what you expect. You've created a form object has been created, and it will be rendered. There it is. My program is running. That's your form application. Of course, it doesn't do anything. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And you can do this. It's just a Windows form. Therefore, they're called Windows Forms application. Okay. So this is what is happening behind the scenes. So if you were writing your own code, now some code has been created for you. You didn't do a lot. The program.cs was created for you. The main method was created for you. And in the main method, the form was run for you. So if you were creating a console application, for example, this is where you would put your code, right? You would create an object of, like you write your testers in Java. You would create an object of your class and you would say, here, show it, right? So this form 1, this new form 1 is creating this form 1 that you just created, right? You didn't create it, but there it was. There it is. This is a design view. I don't yet do anything. We'll come to it in a minute, but I'll show you its code view also. So behind the scenes, this is what is happening. Notice, click on the form 1 on the right-hand side Solution Explorer window. You will find a file called form1.designer.cs. Double click on it. It's again a code file. This form that you see has been created using this code. So a lot of things are going on behind the scene, but you must understand it. Notice how it is saying it is a class called form1, and it is a partial class because in C#, each class has two parts, the design part and the code part. Therefore, they're both partially. Together, they make your application. So there is a word partial in front of class because this is the design view. You will be writing the code yourself, still writing the code itself. So what does it do? Not a lot to begin with, but it has created a dispose method, and the dispose methods will dispose of when you go that cross. It will. So there's nothing yet in the form, but I mean, we will, but that's what the designer is. So the designer is automatically, the designer.cs is automatically created for you. I would recommend that at least for a couple of classes, don't mess with it, but I'll tell you how to mess with it, or how to, if you have errors, how to take care of it. You should know, you're programmers, right? But this is the designer view. Whenever you have to work with the designer, do things here. If you want a button here, just drag and drop, drag and drop. Anything that you do here is changed into code and written in the designer file. So the designer.cs is what you are designing here on the form. Okay, let's do a few things before we start doing things. The first thing I would like you to do is this. I would like you to change the name of this form called form 1. Not a good name at all, right? How do you change it? Right click, go rename. And now the convention will follow is this. If it is a form, we will start with the word FRM for form. Okay, just so that we all know what we are talking about. It's a convention, but we'll follow convention. So form, what would you like to call it? You could call it Hello World form if you like. You could call it main form if you like. You could call it my project form if you like. My first form, whatever name makes sense to you. I'm calling it Hello World form. And notice how I'm using Pascal case convention in naming my forms or classes. These are classes, nothing else. We just saw whatever partial class form 1, right? So classes, Pascal case convention, like in Java. The word form I know starts with a small f, but that's just for recognizing it. But otherwise, the convention to be followed in naming your forms is Pascal case. Pascal case means every word starts with a capital letter. Okay, and don't forget the .cs. If you have removed it by any chance, don't forget it and do an enter. And it will ask you, do I change this reference everywhere? And say, of course, yes. I want you to change it everywhere. And notice what will happen. There is a window called properties in the lower half. Do you see on the right-hand side? Right now it is form1.cs. When I say yes, change everywhere, it will change it here also. So now the form 1 is called FRM, for short form of form, Hello World Everywhere. Now this form has a name, and that name is form Hello World CS. It has, now what are these properties? Properties are like your properties in C# are a combination of methods and events. Now what we are doing is we'll also learn how to handle events in C#. What is an event? An event means something that you do with a object. Click on an object, bring your mouse over the object, double click on the object. These are called events. So in C# you will notice that a class definition has 3 things. In Java, there were 2 things. Remember, we had, because you haven't done a lot of GUI in Java, these are the 2 things you've learned. A class has instance variables and methods, right? Now in Visual C#, when we write a program, it will have instance variables, it will have methods, and it will also have event handlers. Because you're working with GUI, right? It's all graphical user. When you click on a button, or when you do something when you enter data into a text box, an event has occurred. What is the event? Clicking of the button. What is the event in a text box? Entering data into. So you also have to learn how to handle events. You do event handling in Java also, but you haven't done it yet because you haven't done GUI yet, right? So you will have to learn how to write methods in C# and how to handle our events. We'll have to learn these 2 things, okay? So now when you click, so let's come back again to the form. Make the form active, and you will notice that there are some properties of this form. Now, there are two ways you can look at these properties. If you notice, there is an A to Z here, alphabetical, and there is also a categorized properties. So if you click on category, you will notice that they come by category: accessibility, appearance, behavior, data, design, focus, layout. So these are categories. If some students or some people are comfortable working with categories, I like to work it alphabetically because I know the properties by names, and so I know if it is alphabetical, where to search it. For example, in appearance, you can change the back color of, there is a property called back color. So it's an instance variable of your form. There is a property called, these are called properties in C#, right? There's a property called back color. Right now it is white. If you want to change it, click on it. And maybe from you want to make it a different background. You want to make it something like coral, or I don't know. I'm just showing it to you, okay? See, this is what will happen to its back property. So what is this? What are we seeing on the right-hand side? What are these properties? Properties are same as in class definition. What am I and how do I look and what can I do? That's what properties. So these are the properties of your form that you're using. So if you want to change it, sure, right? So notice how under appearance you have a background color, a background image, a background layout. You can do whatever you like and the background. So that's appearance. And if you don't know what they are, bring your mouse over it and notice how it helps you in the bottom. It says the background color of your component, any component. So what is my component right now? My form is my component right now, right? So you can work this way if you like. Font. So you can change from the size, you can change the boldness, you can change the type of the font. And this ellipses, you can click on it and it will open up a window. And you can change it here also. So you can change fonts of your form. Everything will now, if I write anything on my form, it will appear in Microsoft as regular font size 8. If I want to change it, I can do it. Okay. So these are the properties of, therefore, when you click on a component, so what is this? This is a form. It's an object. Right now, it's not, it's just a class definition. When I run it, a object is created which looks like this. Okay. So your first job, the first job that you will do. So what are properties? Properties are how do I look and what can I do stuff. So, and then there are events here. Notice this kind of a, I don't know what to call it. More like a storm. Here are your events. What can you do with the form? These are the events that can be done on a form. You'll say, can I do something with the form? Don't you minimize the form, maximize the form, close the form? These are all events that can happen with the form. So what would you like to do if you're closing a form? Maybe you would like to close a file or whatever. What would you like to do if you have more than one form and one becomes deactivated? It's not in focus. What would you like to do when you bring it back? So these are the list of events, like a thunderstorm symbol. These are the list of events of a form, right? These are called its events. So you have events, you have your properties, and you can show the properties. Properties will show both, I think, the events and the and these alphabetical order if you want them in the alphabetical order, or if you want them in the categorized order, whatever you want. So notice these 4 buttons here. These are for events and these are for properties. Under properties, if you would like to see them as categorized, this is the categorized button and this is the alphabetical button. Whatever makes sense to you, use the option of whatever. I prefer to use the alphabetical order because I'm now used to, I know the names of properties. And I kind of find it more difficult to find a property in a group rather than by name. It's up to you, whatever is comfortable to you. So it's no restriction. This is up to you. So what are the properties of an object? The instance variables. For example, in a form, the background color, the size of the form, right? The title of the form. So let's change this. Would you like to call it form 1? Doesn't look nice. So let's go. There is a property called title. Oh, sorry, not title, text. Do you see this property called text? So if you are in your alphabetical order, just come down to T. If you are in your categorized mode, it could be in, I don't know, maybe not in appearance, could be in appearance. So I don't know, like I said, if you become used to that, so maybe here, where is text? I think it is in appearance. Yep, it's in appearance category, wherever you find it. So if you feel more comfortable here, use categorized. If you feel more comfortable here, use this, whatever works for you. So this is the text property. What would you like to say? Let's say hello world, or maybe welcome. welcome, anything, right? Notice how it changes. It has changed to welcome here. So what are you changing? You're changing the value of the text property of a form. That's what you've done. So as in Java, you have an instance variable and you assign it a value. That's exactly what I'm doing. So I've assigned the value welcome to the text property of the form. What is my form? The form is basically an object of the form class. So I have a class form in the library, and it was created, but of course, when you want to create a new one, you will. You've created an object form one of that class. If you wanted to change the size, no big deal, guys. Here, see, there is a property called size. Do you notice there is a property called size here? Now, if you can work with this, sure, but an easy way is this. If you wanted to make a form of this size, notice how it changes it here also. Are you noticing? The size is now 530, 402. So what is size? Size is a property of the form. It is an instance variable, a field of the form. It's a property. All of these together, the fields, the methods are both, they're events, they're all together called properties. Okay. In C#, we call them properties of a class. Okay, of an object, whatever you would like to say. They're called properties. So we say fields, methods, and events. We'll do these three. Okay. So what did I do? You could go here and change it on your right hand side in the property, or this is much easier. So you kind of see, oh, this is the size I want. Maybe a little, I don't know, and it's no rule that says, oh, you can't change the size. You can change it anytime you like. Once you do everything and you're satisfied, we lock it. But right now you can do whatever. So what are we doing? We are changing the values of the properties of my form. Like assigning them. Assigning it. It's just easy because the window is right there and I can see things. Right? So instead of coding, I've just assigned 609 to the width and 368 to the height of this object form1, which of course now we've called form hello world, right? That is what we've done. We've changed its name from form1. So that's one. Now, there are a few other things you can do with it. If you look at this property called start position, notice how it says the default location. And when I ran this code, did you pay attention to where the form was created? It will come on the left-hand side of your window. There. That's its default location. You can move it wherever you like. But if you would like, when the code starts, if you would like to start it at a particular position, you can go and say, let's change it to center screen. Just for your information, these values that you see under that arrow, I can select one of these. These have been defined as enumerated types in your library, right? So start position is an enumerated type, and enumerated type from Java. Enumerated type is basically a set of constants, right? That's what it is. A set of constants given a name is an enumerated type. What does it do? Makes it easy to work with. For example, weekdays, you can call them 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but you can also call them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is much better, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you can define an enumerated type called week of days and say, my week of days can either be a Monday, a Sunday, a Tuesday, whatever. You kind of define it and then use it. Makes it a little easy. If you haven't seen it in Java, maybe you'll see it, and I'll also use it. But an enumerated type in any language is basically a type that the user defines with preset constants that makes your code easy to read. It makes it flexible and easy to read. It's for readability and flexibility. Okay, so I've changed it to center screen. What does it do? Press F5 again. Notice how by default the form is coming now at the center of the screen. You could still move it, but it is coming at the center of the screen. But if you can change its size now, that's something you should not be able to do. Yeah, because why? Because if I've created an interface and I exactly want it to look like something, I don't want you to keep changing its size. So can I do that? Is there a property that I can set? There is a property called border style. Go to a property called border style. Where is it? No. What is it called? Form border style, sorry, not border style, form border style. It is called border style, but form border style. There it is. Notice how it says it's sizable. Change it to fixed single or fixed 3D, whatever you like. What does it now do? Now your border of your form will be fixed. You can't change it. Why do we want to do this? Because we don't want people to change how we have created our forms to look. Maybe you placed something on the form, you have some buttons and labels, and now if people start, like in your web design, when you design your web forms, don't you take care when you write your CSS or whatever, that when you change the size of the form, it should still look neat, the same kind of concept. Here what you do here is you say nobody can change the size of my form. So now try running it. So what did I again do? I just changed a property of my form called, here is your list of properties. See, these are all your properties. You can do much more. You'll say, oh, I don't want people to minimize my form. Then you can change your minimize box from true to false. You can do that. You'll say, I don't want the maximize box to be enabled. Nobody can maximize my form. We'll make this false. See, try this. Make it false. Now let's run it again. Two things we've done. Two changes we've done. One, it is in the center of the screen. Notice, cannot maximize it. I've changed the property to false. And I cannot change the size of my form. Do you have that resizing labels anywhere now? No. So what properties have we worked with in a form till now? One, we changed the name of the form. The convention to be used, FRM for form, Pascal name convention for naming. Two, we changed the text property of the form. What is the text property? What you see in the title bar. Three, we changed the position of the form. We changed it from default position to center location. Four, we changed the border of the form. The property is called form border style from sizable to fixed. And five, I disabled my maximize button. I said maximize box is equal to false. We just changed 5 properties of the form. These properties are just instance variables, fields of your form. They're just easy to use and easy to remember because you can see them. If you had to do this yourself in code, you will have to remember form 1, in our case, form hello world dot. What was the property called? Form border style is equal to fixed single. That's more work, but it can be done. So for me, since we are doing it individually, and since the .NET environment, the IDE is helpful, the form is right here. Any properties you want to change, go here. Where do you think in code, where is it making these changes? Do you want to see where is it making these changes? Go to the design that we had opened first. Oh, sorry, the designer CS file. All that you are doing there, it's doing here. Whatever you're doing there, notice this is a code it is created. So every designer will have this method called initialize component actually, and I'll show you where it will come into play. So this was the designer file I had opened for you before also. If you have lost it, that's not a big deal. Go to your Solution Explorer, and under the Solution Explorer, go to your CS form, and under there you will see a file called designer.cs. This is your designer file. Whatever you are designing on the form is being converted into code here. And see what you did just. So they kind of leave the other methods alone for now, but this is the most important method, initialize component. This is where your form gets created. All that you just did is done here. Notice how it is saying maximize box is equal to false, name is equal to form hello world, border style is equal to fixed single, text is equal to welcome, start position is equal to center screen. All changes that you've made are written in code here, as you would do in any object-oriented programming. This dot maximum box is equal to false. What is this? The current object dot the property is equal to the value you want to. So if you were writing a console application, you would type this yourself. I mean, of course, you won't type these statements yourself because now you're not creating a form, but you have to know what's going on. So I just changed a few instance variable values of my form. And what you did was written here. Any changes that you do here are written here. When you run your code, the program.cs calls this designer. I mean, in a way, it's a partial class, but it calls it, and that's how the form 1 comes up. Remember, it said new form 1. That new form 1, of course, will now change. Let's go and look at the program.cs. See, the form 1 name has now changed to form hello world. That's why I said change references everywhere. So when it runs it, it creates a new form world. It actually calls the designer file to put it on the screen as you want it, and then the code, if any. We don't have any code yet, but I'll show you in a minute where the code is of your form, where you will fill up. So the form is now ready, though there is nothing on the form, but the form is now ready. It has a name, it has a title, it has a maximize, minimize box, which I chose not to. Again, why am I saying you cannot maximize my form? Because then my components on my form, if I do a drawing on my form, which I eventually will do something on the form, I want it to look exactly like I want it. Now, let's see what I can do with this form. So it's, what do you have? You have a kind of a canvas on which you can draw things, right? That's what it is. You have a canvas. So if I wanted to now create a form, I'll have to put my components on this. Okay, so let's start and do a few things. Simple things. Open your toolbox. Make it a little wider just so that you can see it. You can make this a little, I just keep them so that I can refer to them. You can go to common controls if you like. There are all Windows forms also. You'll become used to it. There is something called a label. Double click on the label. You can always drag and drop also. Place a label. What is a label? Now, there is a class called label in the class library, graphics class library, and it's the English word label. What does a label do? You put something, text on it, and it kind of labels something, right? That's why it's called a label. So what I just did, I created an object of type label class. This is an object of type label, right? Now, if you want, if you go to its properties, here are the properties of the label. Let's say something like welcome. Right? So go to its property. What property will I change? The text property. Let's write welcome to C#. Right? It's just a label, right? Now one of the features that you have to remember with label is the size of the label will depend upon what you put into it. If you put word Anju, it will be exactly of 4 size. If you say welcome to C# with blanks, that's its size. You can't change its size like you did of a form. Remember how you made it bigger and smaller? You'll say, what if I want to? Of course you can do it. There's a property called auto size. It says auto size is a property which is true. It says I will take the size of what you put in me. If you say, no, let me handle it, make it false. Now you can size it to whatever you like. You see? Like, so the default property, so there is an instance variable. Are you all getting me, guys? Is it okay? Right? So there is a property called auto size of your label, which was true by default. And what does true mean? I'll only take the size of what you put in me. You can change it. You'll say, it doesn't matter to me. Don't change it. Right? Now I'm trying to create a heading in my form. Like at the top, usually in a form, you'll have a heading. This is what I'm trying to create. Would you like to center it? Sure. Let's kind of bring it here. And this should be, why are they not, something is running, no? Okay, I'll come back to it in a minute. I would also like to make it look a little bolder. So there should be a property called font. Remember we looked at it before also. And maybe you want to change it to something else. Maybe, I don't know, maybe bold at least. Or to, if you like some other font, maybe whatever you like, right? And then maybe a bigger size. To me, this will look good enough. See, it starts to look bigger now. So a heading should look like a heading, right? It's just a heading. Every form, so there is a difference. This is a title, which is coming in the, actually, you know what? You can, if you don't like this title bar at all, you can remove it from your form. Some people just don't want a title bar. So this is a title bar, but this is the heading of the form. So whenever you create a form, in the common instructions, you will see here, forms should have appropriate titles and headings. So your form will always have a heading and a good title. The title is that what's coming, right? So that's why I follow it. Okay, so now here, somehow, why isn't this working? Okay, here, because it's not there. Now, if I want to center it, you can do a few stuff, like you can dance around with it. You'll say, I think that's the center. Oh, I think that's the center. But there is an easy way of doing it. Okay, what you can do is you can select this. If you don't have the button, which I don't have, do an add or remove buttons and take this, put it in your toolbar, center horizontally and center vertically. Just add them. Now what you can do this, you can just choose it here. Why don't I? Yeah, there it is. And center horizontally. Not much work to be done. Easy. So if you, I mean, usually these two don't appear in the toolbar, but it's not a tough thing to get it in the toolbar. Go here, say add or remove buttons and select them. Then they will appear. Notice how you have align to grid and align middles, align bottoms. We'll use them as it goes on. But for now, I wanted to center it. You could try to move it yourself, but you will not be perfect. This way, you don't have to bother about it. So you've centered it. So what have I done? I've just created an object of type label and placed it at a certain position. Keep saving it in the form. If you go to the designer, this job that you've just done will be done here. See, you see it? This is exactly what you've done. You've added a control. So there is a controls property of the form. In the controls property, you've called the add method. Do you recognize the signatures? What is a method? Will always have an opening and a closing bracket because needs arguments, right? So the dot, this dot, this dot, dot. So this dot controls is a property of the form. This is the form. Dot add is a method, and you're adding a label to the form. That's what you've done. You've added a label to your form. This is in the designer view. Now it's called label 1. If you like, it's not necessary. Do you ever do anything with the label in a form, like with the heading? You don't change headings of the form. So if you don't have to program it, don't bother about changing it. Just let it be called label 1. How does it matter to us? We're not going to program it. You know, when I say program it won't be in my code. I won't say during the run of my program, I won't say label 1 dot text becomes from welcome to C# becomes welcome to Java. I mean, if you want to, sure, change the name if you think you will need to work with it. But if you don't have to work with it, it's like a static, constant label. Don't bother to change it. Because the more you change, the more you have to remember. Okay, so we'll leave it at label. So what did I do with the label? I changed its auto size property from true to false. I changed a field, an instance variable of the label object. Right? 2. I changed the font property of my label. I changed it from, I didn't change the type of the font, but I changed the bold. I converted the bold, the type, and I changed the size of my font. Right? So I changed the size and I didn't change the font itself. You could have changed to whatever you like, Calibri or whatever, Arial or whatever you wanted. Right? My label is ready. Also, I would also always like, so you can always drag and drop also if you like, instead of double clicking. I would always like you to put your name for me at the right hand side corner of the form so that I know who the programmer is. So auto size property depends upon you. If you don't need to change it, don't do it. Notice how there is a location property. Always in the beginning for sure, not in the beginning, you'll become used to it. Always give a minute to look at the properties of any new control that you add to your form. There is a property called location. What is this location? 476,291. The X and the Y axis of your form. Your form, this is the location where I've placed it. You want to change its color? Sure, go ahead and change it. You want to change its font? Sure, go ahead and change it. I'll just make it maybe oblique or bold oblique, just so that it stands out. You want to change its color? Sure, there is a 4 color. Go to it and change it to whatever you like. So you can change properties. So I always want the form to have a proper name, a proper title, a proper heading, and your name on the right-hand side column. These are the big things. Okay? Now let's do more. Suppose now I want to show the message hello world on the screen. That's your first program you learn in every programming language, how to print hello world. Let's see how to do it here. So since I want to show something on the screen, what will I need? Another label. Let's kind of put it again in the center. We don't know where the center will be, but here. Now, since I'm going to code this, I'm going to say this label will have hello world, or this label will have how do you do, or whatever. I will change the text of this code. The first job I'll do is I'll change its name. So change its name. The name occurs right, though it's called name, it is always at the beginning because it comes in bracket. So alphabetically wise, brackets have the lowest priority. They come at the beginning. Change the name of this label 3 to use the shorthand form LBL for label. And now let's say this is your message label. So let's call it message. M capital, please. Haskell case convention. So the name of this object is called message. It's called label message to keep with the conventions that all labels will have LBL in front of it. Text boxes will have TXT, forms will have FRM, radio buttons will have RDO, and so on. It's just a convention. Okay. So why am I changing the name? Because I'm going to code something. I have to use this. And you don't want to remember what it was called. Oh, this was called label 3. Who can remember it was called label 3? But all of us can remember it was called label message. So if names are good, I can remember names. But if you start telling me my name is A and my name is B, I can never remember it. But of course, I can remember Ross and Isaac and Connor and Romika. I can remember these names because they're meaningful names. You know what I mean? So why didn't I change the names of this label 1 and label 2? Because they're static. I don't know. I won't be doing anything with them in my code. But why did I change the name of this object label 3? Because I'm going to work with it. Also, since I want to make its auto size as false, I want to give it a size. Let's give it a size. So let's kind of say hello world. Do you think will come in that kind of? Looks good enough. Hello world enough for hello world, right? And if you like, you can also give it a border style. So you can make the label look like a text box. Otherwise, when you remove if you don't do this, see, if I don't do this and I move away, kind of looks odd. So to find it, I have to come here. So give it a border to make it look pretty. So go to border. There is a property called border style, different from form border style, guys. That was the forms property. And say fixed single. And do you want to see this label 3 inside it? No. What should I do? How do I remove the label 3, guys? Make the text property as blank. Remove it. So now, and how do you center it? There. So what did I just do? I created a label that looks like a text box. Kind of looks better than how welcome to C# and Anju Chawla are looking, because those are just for display purposes constant. Here, this message will change. Maybe I'll say hello world, then I'll say how are you? Or maybe I'll say hello world in different languages. In English, in Chinese, in Spanish, in French, who knows, right? So what did I do? I created a label to show some data. Now, if you want to show some data into it, should you be able to do this? Run the code. It's just a label to show something. Do you think I should be able to do this? Type something in it? No. So this is how the form is looking right now, right? So there is a label, but there is no code. There is nothing I can do with it, but that's how my form looks like, which is okay. Okay, let's close this. So my label is ready now, but I want to put a message inside it depending upon something. Now let's do that something is. Okay, so let's do a few things. Now take a button object. Bring it here, somewhere here. Take another button object, bring it here, somewhere here. Place it below this, and notice how it gives you help. Notice the blue lines. It helps you to place it below. Take another button piece, put it here. Again, it helps you for aligning, and place it here. So kind of, they don't look a lot. I'll do them afterwards. I can all select them like this together and say, put it in the center. There. So you can select more than one things together like this. And then say, put them in the center. Now I know they're exactly in the center, right? And all this that you're doing is going here. See, this is the label that you added for Anju Chawla. This is the label that you added for Welcome C#. This is the label that you added for what we called label message. You changed the name. You said we'll talk about tab indexes afterward. Don't worry about it. You gave it a border style, and you just created 4 buttons: button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4. So all that you're doing visually on the form, all that you're doing visually on the form is being changed into code behind the scenes. But since this is being done for you, I would say keep away from it. Do your work here. Keep saving, guys. Controllers. Starts to look a little better, right? I have something on the form. And now the aim is, which we won't be able to do today, but we will do it next time. This is what I do. For example, I don't want to have button 1 written on it. So what property do I need to change if I want to change what's written on a control? What property? Text property. Go to its text property. Thank you, Lee. Go to its text property and change it to English. So basically, when you press this button, the English button, then it's a little small. Do you see the G was being cut off? You'll have to increase its size. You'll have to increase its width. Okay. And again, you can do this. You can take all of them together and you can make the same size in their width. You can actually change one and all four will change in their size. That's easy. Then you don't have to worry about what's happening. If you want to change its length, go this way. And then now if you see, oh, it's changed its position. Bring it back to me. Okay, so I put English here. Let's say, I don't know. Oh, so to kind of come out just, okay. So another language that we know, that I don't know, of course I know Hindi, but I don't know how to write, how will I write a message in Hindi there? French maybe? Anybody who knows French here? You do? Okay, what's hello world in French?
I don't know if it's correctly correct. Bonjour.
Oh yeah, that's too big. Okay, Spanish? I know bonjour, right? You're right. Anybody? Oh, okay, so we'll use Spanish. That's smaller. Okay, so we'll go Spanish. Anything. I'm just trying to create some Spanish. Okay, so here, what would you like to call this button? Let's call it print. Let's change its text to print. And I'll show you one more thing, and I should stop here. Otherwise, people will complain about me if they come outside. I've already had complaints last semester. And exit. So I've created 4 buttons on my form now. When I click the button English, an event occurs. What is the event occurs? Click on the button, right? And what would I want to do? I would like to put hello world in that label that I created. When I click Spanish, I would like to put hello, whatever in that thing, right? I'll find out what's the Spanish thing before I come to class next week. And also for French, you can add as many buttons. When I do an exit, I want my form to close. And when I do a print, I want my form to be print. So now we will make our buttons operational next. Okay, are you okay till now? Everything okay? Good. So give it a small reading, the first 2 PowerPoints. Okay, give them a quick read. Try to acclimatize yourself to